introduces the single dad, his struggles, and the airport setting where he meets a soldier being denied a first-class seat. How the dad gives up his own upgrade for the soldier, not knowing it would change everything. Fellow passengers react, emotions rise. The airline faces unexpected complication, a revelation involving the soldier, the airline, and the single dad's past surfaces. Kindness rewarded, a twist of fate turns chaos into purpose, changing the dad and soldier's lives forever. Jason Carter was no stranger to long days and sleepless nights, but this particular morning felt heavier than most. The hustle of the airport, the screech of roller bags on tile, and the constant chime of boarding calls did little to help the headache forming behind his eyes. With his 6-year-old son Eli clinging sleepily to his arm, Jason navigated Terminal C with the slow, tired patience of someone who had been running on empty for years. His backpack was second-hand, patched and frayed at the edges. Eli's Spider-Man suitcase had a broken zipper, secured with a rubber band Jason found behind the radiator at work. They were en route to Phoenix, where Jason's estranged father had just passed away. The funeral was in 2 days. Jason wasn't sure how to feel. He hadn't spoken to the man in over a decade, but he wanted Eli to at least meet the rest of his family, even if it meant traveling across the country with nearly no money, very little time, and a heart full of mixed emotions. At the gate, the airline agent glanced at her monitor and smiled politely. "Mr. Carter, it looks like you've been randomly selected for a complimentary upgrade to first class." Jason blinked. "Really?" "Yes, sir. Just one seat, though. Your son is still booked in economy." Jason looked down at Eli, who was busy making his teddy bear fly in circles. "You think they'd let him sit with me if I accept?" The agent hesitated. "Normally no, unless you purchase the seat. I can assign an attendant to keep an eye on him though." Jason gave a tired smile. "No, thanks, we'll stick together." She nodded and removed the upgrade from the record. Jason walked away, not thinking twice. There were more important things than a bigger seat and a glass of wine. Eli yawned, and they found a pair of seats near the gate. Jason gave his son a snack from his backpack, a graham crackers and half a banana, and sat down with a sigh. He hadn't even realized how hungry he was until he saw the food. Still, he passed it to Eli and closed his eyes for a moment. Across the gate, a woman in fatigues was speaking to the same agent. Jason noticed the straight posture, the calm voice, and the exhaustion hiding behind the soldier's eyes. "I was told I'd be able to upgrade with my military ID," she said gently. "I've been on base for 16 months. I just want to be home." "I'm sorry, ma'am," the agent said. "We've already reassigned that seat." Jason watched her shoulders drop slightly. Though she remained composed, she stepped aside and took a seat by herself, staring down at her boots. Eli leaned close to his dad. "Daddy, she looks tired." "She probably is," Jason replied softly. "She should have a nap like me." Jason smiled faintly. "Yeah, she deserves it." He stood, approached the counter again, and leaned in. "Hey, did that upgrade go to someone else yet?" The agent looked up, curious. "No, it's still unassigned." "Can you give it to the soldier?" Quietly. The woman blinked. "You sure?" "Absolutely." She nodded, her fingers flying across the keyboard. Then she called out, "Sergeant Hernandez?" The soldier looked up. "Yes, you've been upgraded to first class." Her eyes widened. "Yeah, broken bar what?" Jason gave her a small wave from behind the agent. "I turned it down. Figured you needed it more than I do." She stood and walked over slowly. "I don't know what to say." Jason shrugged. "Thank you for serving. Enjoy the seat." She opened her mouth, then closed it again. "You're traveling with your kid?" "You sure?" He smiled. "Positive." With tears welling in her eyes, she reached out a hand. "Sergeant Maria Hernandez." "Jason," he replied, shaking it. "And that's Eli." Eli waved, still chewing a cracker. She knelt briefly. "Thank you, Eli. Your dad's a hero too." They boarded shortly after. Jason and Eli were seated near the rear of the plane. It was cramped and loud. Eli fidgeted, and Jason did his best to keep him distracted with stories and snacks. Meanwhile, Sergeant Hernandez took her seat in first class. Trying to wrap her head around the man's kindness, she tucked a note into her coat pocket, intending to write him a proper thank you when they landed. But 45 minutes into the flight, things began to unravel. Jason had just closed his eyes when the captain's voice came over the speaker. "Ladies and gentlemen, this is your captain speaking. We're experiencing a slight technical issue with our cabin system. Nothing to worry about. We've contacted ground support and will be resolving it shortly." The lights flickered, and the seatbelt signs blinked. Jason straightened. That was weird. Soon, flight attendants began moving through the cabin with unusual urgency, not the typical calm smile as something was off. Then came the security personnel. 2 plainclothes air marshals stood and moved toward the front. A hushed exchange occurred with the lead attendant. People began whispering. Phones came out. One passenger gasped. Jason instinctively pulled Eli closer. "What's happening?" Eli asked. "I don't know, buddy. Just sit tight, okay?" Suddenly, the intercom cracked again. "We are making an unscheduled landing due to a security concern. Please remain calm and in your seats." Passengers panicked. A baby cried. The tension thickened like fog. Jason gripped the armrest and tried to stay calm for Eli. The plane landed roughly in Albuquerque, not Phoenix. Once on the ground, police and TSA agents boarded. Jason watched, stunned, as they moved directly to first class and escorted Sergeant Hernandez off the plane. "What the hell is going on?" someone whispered. Then, to Jason's shock, one of the agents pointed directly at him. "U.S. Sir, in 22 cop, please come with us." He froze. "Me?" "Yes, sir." Eli clung to his sleeve. "Daddy." Jason stood, heart pounding. "It's okay, kiddo. Just hold my bear and wait here. I'll be right back." He followed them off the plane and was taken to a private room near the tarmac. Sergeant Hernandez sat there, pale and silent. One of the agents, older, gray-haired, sat across from them both. "Mr. Carter," he said sternly, "we need to clarify the events leading up to this flight. Did you know Sergeant Hernandez before today?" Jason blinked. "Number. Never met her before." "You gave her your first class upgrade?" "Yes." "Why is that a problem?" "It triggered a flag in our system. There's an active investigation involving a smuggling ring targeting military transport channels. An unknown civilian upgrading a soldier just before flight matched the flag criteria." Jason raised his voice. "You're telling me my kindness got us grounded?" The agent's eyes narrowed. "Sir, we've had threats issued against military personnel. We couldn't take a chance." Maria spoke. "This is insane. He's just a dad with a kid. He did a nice thing. That's it." Another agent entered the room and handed a phone to the lead. "Sir, we confirm Jason Carter's background checks out. No criminal record, no military ties, nothing suspicious. He's a mechanic from Chicago." The lead nodded and turned to Maria. "We're sorry, Sergeant. Your credentials just expired in our system due to an internal delay. It won't happen again." Jason stared at them all. "So, I lose my seat, we get rerouted, and terrified if we're what? A glitch? We can get you both on the next flight," the agent offered. Jason stood. "Number. I want to go home, and I want someone to explain to my 6-year-old why his dad got taken off a plane like a criminal." Back in the terminal, Jason found Eli coloring with a kind flight attendant who had stayed with him. "Daddy!" Eli shouted and ran to him. Jason scooped him up, kissing his forehead. Sergeant Hernandez approached. "I'm so sorry. This never should have happened." Jason shook his head. "It's not your fault." She pulled something from her bag and handed it to him. A sealed envelope. "What's this?" "Just a broken bar. Read it later." They said goodbye again. Maria boarded another plane, back to her home base. Jason and Eli were rebooked with free first-class seats as compensation, but the moment had passed. The sparkle of generosity had been clouded by suspicion, bureaucracy, and fear. Back in Phoenix the next morning, Jason sat at the motel desk and opened the envelope. Inside was a folded letter and a check. The letter read, "Jason, in the military, we learn that leadership doesn't come from rank, it comes from action. In 16 months overseas, I saw more pain than I can describe, but your small gesture reminded me why I do what I do. You gave up your seat for someone you didn't know, without expecting anything in return. That's the America I fight for. This check isn't charity, it's a thank you. It's from a fund that supports veterans and their families. I asked them to gift it in your name. Use it for Eli, for your future, for your dreams. Sincerely, Sergeant Maria Hernandez. Jason's hands trembled as he unfolded the check. $25,000. He sat there, stunned, not just by the money, but by the reminder that kindness matters even when it gets misunderstood. He looked over at Eli, who was drawing airplanes and tanks, and smiled. Maybe, he whispered, chaos isn't always a bad thing.